Hey, what's up, guys? It's been a while. My hair's gone freakishly long, but everything's looking good. We got a new pop, baby. We got a new mic. We got some new stuff, but that's not what I want to talk about right now. What I want to talk about is this new update for Granblue Versus. If you don't know, I am a huge fan of Granblue Versus. It's what's gotten me super into fighting games lately, and they are coming out with a new update that's actually just about to drop in 5 minutes. I just dated this video by saying that, even though I'm not planning on releasing this till tomorrow morning. For me, at least. For you guys, it'll be up when it's up. But anyway, that's beside the point. What I want to talk about right now is this update that's going to be dropping, and specifically going to Yuel, who I am planning on playing a large amount of. I predict some problems coming up. These guys over here at Granblue English, amazing job at translating everything. They do a fantastic job. Go ahead and send them some love if you want to, because these guys are awesome and they're very quick and with these updates or these translations and everything. So going into her first special, she dashes forward and strikes multiple times. Her heavy version leads to a wall bounce if it hits in the corner, and if you press her unique during the movements, she will go into her stance at the end of the move. So essentially, I've already read through this once earlier, but essentially she is kind of like she is a stance character, rush down like stance character, and she can cancel her special moves into, or I shouldn't say she can cancel her special moves, but after her special moves she can cancel into her stance change, which we'll get into in a little bit later down the road. But this is kind of just a basic forward strike kind of. It's not a Rekka, but it's kind of got that feel to it where she strikes multiple times and she gets a wall bounce to continue a combo. Then she does have a DP. I was like, oh, bless, she has a DP. Granted, in terms of the power level of Granblue, when Granblue first came out, you needed a DP. If you did not have a DP, you were trash. But now, not having a DP is somewhat, it doesn't feel as bad. I play Zoe, and she does have a DP of sorts, but it's not frame 1 invincible. So it's not like a true DP in terms of Granblue, like his power scale. But she does have a DP that seems pretty good. But they can't be blocked unless it's EX, and the heavy cannot be blocked in the air. And if you press unique, you go into your stance. Her third ability is she does a backdash that's invulnerable, and then she lunges forward and attacks. Now this ability was very interesting, because the way I've read it, you can see that if you use the medium and heavy version, you follow up with a low. I assume if you use the light, it's like a mid or something similar. But I was thinking, well, if you're always going to attack after using this move, I can see it getting you out of some situations, but your opponent will always be able to react or predict or use something to counter this, right? If you're always attacking. But if you look at the last sentence, if you press unique during her backdash or during the attack, she will go into the stance. So we won't know until she comes out. I need to lab this, but it seems like if you backdash, you might be able to cancel into the stance. I'm not sure. I'm hoping that's how it works. Because if that's how it works, that's honestly godlike. Because then that gives her so much mix-up potential. Because you dash back. Okay, is she going to go for the low? Is she going to go for the mid? Or is she going to cancel into her stance? And then she gets a different move list that she can use. Different tools. That would be really cool. But if it's like... but if it works this way, which I feel like there's a pretty decent chance that it actually works like this. Where you do your backdash and just pressing unique, you still continue with the attack. It just buffers it so you go into the stance after the move is done. I'm not sure. I hope it's the former, but it's more likely to be the latter. Her unique is that she enters or exits her stance. And here's what's interesting about her stance. And this is what kind of reminded me of Leo from Guilty Gear. And why I think Yuel might play a little like Leo. But I'll get into that in a little bit. So while she is in her stance, she can't move normally. She moves in dashes, similarly to Leo Whitefang, and she can't block, also like Leo. But instead, if she is to be attacked, she will perform a move called Eye of the Sparrow. And this reactively, and it's used automatically against high attacks. Now, I'm going to go ahead and skip to that move. Let me see if I can find... I have the Sparrow. Now, what I have the Sparrow is it's an invulnerable attack. It activates automatically against high opponents. Or high opponents. At high attacks, but not projectiles. While she is in her stance. And it says high attacks are ones that can be blocked both standing and crouching. Now, this move I thought was like kind of like garbage at first, but the more I think about it, the more I read into it, I'm like, this is godly. Like, what the hell is this move? Because it could be a weaker or stronger version of Belial's parry, and Belial's parry is godlike. Belial is like kind of breaking the game right now, and after Yuel comes out, they are going to balance him out and nerf him, but Yuel is kind of looking like she's going to be godlike, honestly. And this attack is strange because when I heard high attack is an actual thing. It's moves that can be ducked because they don't hit mid, they don't hit low, but they're so high that you can duck them, right? But I don't know if this is because of Granblue. In Granblue's terms, if they read a high attack as also crouching, that'd be strange. So I really want to lab this and see exactly what this blocks. I don't think this will... It says attacks that can standing or crouching, right? So that also makes me think that it might be able to block specials. Like, can you dodge boot kick with this? I don't know. This needs to be labbed, right? Because Belial's parry can dodge supers, DPs. It will dodge through everything. And projectiles. Granted, this doesn't go through projectiles, but this could still be really good depending. Because she gets seems like a cool counterattack. Granted, Belial's parry is he kind of just gets plus. Yes, you can react to it, and it does have counterplay things you can do for it. But with Granblue delay, honestly, let's be honest. With Granblue delay, Belial's parry just makes you plus if it gets used properly. So this move needs to be labbed, and there's some interesting things that can come from that. So let's talk about her. So that's her unique. Now let's go into her stance. So her stance dash is essentially while she's in her stance, her movement set becomes dashes. So if you haven't seen in Guilty Gear, Leo Whitefang also moves in dashes, except if he is right next to the opponent and he dashes toward, he will actually cross up. So it'll be interesting to see if Yuel works in the same way. I highly doubt it, but who knows? It could be. That could be the case. Okay, so she gets a new set of attacks that she can exit from. So it sounds like if you use this attack, you don't leave your stance, but you can choose to. So you can cancel any of these attacks to leave your stance at any moment, which is pretty good. That's kind of how Leo's works, but Leo's is a little better. I'll explain that in a second. So she has 2 more attacks in her stance, I believe, and the next one is an advancing attack where she will exit the stance after it's done. When the animation is done, she will exit the stance. And it's like, it's essentially like kind of like Lance's dash, it seems like. Except you can hold down the heavy button to travel even further, which is pretty cool. It's just a cool idea. We haven't really seen this in Granblue at all. The idea of holding something to go further. And then her next attack is this backflip that she does. And she also leaves her stance after this move. But this move, honestly, kind of scares me. Because it is a launcher. It is a launcher that doesn't need to be EX. You just get a combo off of it. The way it is worded, it sounds like it launches the enemy and you can just get a combo without it being EX. Granted, I'm sure if you whiff this or if it's blocked, the recovery is probably very bad and you're just going to get blown up. But this move could be really good, especially as maybe like an anti-air tool. That would be cool. Because if she does her backflip, I'm actually curious how the properties work. Like, does that count as grounded or does that count as an anti-air? Because if you don't know, in Granblue, any move that is grounded is air unblockable. So I'm really curious to see if you can block this in the air or not. Now that we've talked about her stances and everything, I would like to kind of talk about how she's similar to Leo and how she's not. So my first reaction when I read this was like, dang, she's going to be like Leo from Guilty Gear. That's kind of she's crazy. She's going to be like Leo. But the more I think about it, the more I think she's not going to be like Leo. And I'm getting the same vibes from her that I got from Leo when I first saw him. If you've never played Guilty Gear before and if you've never seen gameplay of Leo from Xrd Rev 2, even if you haven't, even if you have seen gameplay, if you've never played Leo or played against Leo, there's this concept that you probably wouldn't grasp. And Leo looks at a first time reaction very technical. He seems like he'd be very hard to execute properly, and here's why. Because he goes into the stance change where he is very vulnerable because he can't block. And there's all these new movesets that you get, and all these different dashes and cross-ups that you have to do for your mixes that seem very difficult if you've never played him or played against him. It seems ridiculously hard, and it's what makes Leo seem very complicated. However, the reason why Leo has been known to become a Unga Boonga monkey in Guilty Gear is because of the way that this is actually executed. So the idea seems very complex and hard to execute. But in reality, it's very easy, and here's why. His normals are very good. His slash and heavy slash in his normal stance are really good. And then all his moves in his back stance are godlike. So that is that immediately takes some skill off the board, just that all his buttons being so good. Next, what makes him more of like an Unga Boonga monkey is that you fall into that he's very rhythmic. You fall into the same kind of pattern in the way, similarly to Sora's, how Sora's you do like a kick, punch, and you do some mix-ups from there. Leo, you kind of fall into this pattern of, oh, I confirmed, like I slashed, confirmed it into heavy slash, in a quarter circle forward slash, quarter circle forward, heavy slash, quarter circle back, heavy slash, right? That's going to be like your basic Leo kind of like setup stuff, I believe. But the thing with that is because you do that every time off of like any confirm on the floor or any like grounded confirm and stuff like that. That's what makes Leo very Unga Boonga, because you're just doing the same stuff over and over again. Now, granted, towards the end of your combo, you can finish it differently for a different mix-up, right? Like, you can leave your stance, you can leave your back stance, you can choose to not leave your back stance, and then afterward, you can go for, like, a low, a high, or a parry. Stuff like that, it seems very complicated, but after playing Leo myself, for a decent amount of time, it's very Unga Boonga just because it's very rhythmic. You get into this pattern, or you keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And I don't think Yuel will be the same. And here's why. After watching her trailer, she seems like she has some really good normals by Granblue standards. Her normals seem very good by Granblue standards. She has like a multi-hitting air move. She has some very good grounded normals. Multi-hitting ground normal, I think it's her close M probably. Some good stuff like that make Lance really good. If you've watched Anime Illuminati Juna's video, he compares her a lot to Lance. Granted, Lance is like the only rushdown character in Granblue, so that's why you would keep comparing her to Lance, because she is going to be a rushdown character similarly to him. And Lance has been top tier for since the game came out. He's either been number 1 or at least top 3 since the release of the game. But I don't think she'll be like Leo, because Granblue has so much neutral implemented into it. It's going to be a lot harder to Unga Boonga with her, if that makes sense. Granblue does have a lot of Unga Boonga stuff. Belial and Charlotta and Lance have more than proved that you can Unga Boonga around in this game. And same with Lediva too, right? But because there's a lot more neutral implemented in this game, it's hard to commit that kind of game plan of rhythm, right? Now, Sora's is kind of a character like that, where he will go into this rhythm. Bop, kick, bop, right? Like punch, kick, right? But once you identify that rhythm, you can play against him very easily. You just need to identify the rhythm, which is something that might be a problem with her if she falls into that kind of like Leo play style. Also, what I think doesn't make her like Leo at all, and why she probably won't be as Unga Boonga as Leo, is her stance moves, her stance attacks, right? She only has one attack that doesn't cancel her out of her stance, right? So what makes Leo's stance so godly is that he can go low, he can go high, or he can parry you, essentially, right? And no matter if any of these hit you, he gets a full combo and he puts you in a loop, right? He's like, okay, I'm gonna go low this time. Oh, I hit you with the low. I'm gonna do my whole quarter circle combo on you, and now you're on the ground, I'm on you with my back stance, and let's just do it again, right? Now I'm going to go for the overhead, or I'm going to parry you. Stuff like that, right? She doesn't really have that, right? She can cancel into her stance from any special, but once she's in this stance, her options are very limited. Because if she uses this attack or this attack, if she uses her Gurren or her Moonrise, she leaves that stance, right? Now those options are off the table. And then if she uses her normal stance attack, yeah, she doesn't leave her stance. But that's the only attack that does that. So fighting her, you could identify that very easily. You can be like, oh, she's going to keep using this, right? I know exactly how that hits. I have my counterplay for it. I have my tech. Stuff like that, right? Which is why I don't think she'll be quite on the Unga Boonga level as Leo. I think you'll definitely have to be more technical with her and strategical, really, and think what you want to do when you want to do it. This character, I feel like you're going to be thinking with the third eye. Not too much that sense, because since she is probably going to play like a rushdown character. So now let's get into her supers, shall we? So talking about her Skybound art, the Crimson Dance. Thank you, Arxis and Cygames for making the super very short. I think Skybound arts should not be as long as they are. Super Skybound arts, cool. Those things are awesome. You know, if you kill someone, if you finish the match with one, you get this cool new game end screen. That's awesome. I love that. But Skybound arts do not need to be as long as they are. They can be like Lance, and they can be like Yuel's now, because it looks really cool and it's awesome. But going into the move, it says some invulnerability, so I assume that means startup invulnerability, like most supers in the game. Most Skybound arts in the game have invuln on startup, but then afterward you can counterattack them or punish. If it connects, she slashes multiple times, and it says it travels far. So I'm curious how far. Is it like Lance? Is it like Charlotta Ball? Like if it's Charlotta Ball far, that's pretty good. Or like Zoe's Super Skybound art far. That'd be pretty cool. And a really good tool for escaping or getting in and stuff like that. Maybe not so much getting in, because you will be minus afterward. But let's go into her Super Skybound art. It's an invulnerable attack. Now, the way that they say that this move is invulnerable, and the way they word the other move as just some invulnerability, that makes me think that this super may just be invulnerable through the whole animation, which would mean you can't counterattack it, and you could perhaps still punish it. So she dances, creating a whirling flame around her, and this move will draw the enemy in. So that's what makes me think that this move will be punishable if you block it. This Super Skybound art should be punishable if you block it. But now this is where we get into this weird scenario, because it says she's an invulnerable, so I assume she like does this fire like spiral, something like that, and she's invulnerable towards that whole animation, right? And then you as an opponent get dragged into her. Now I'm curious how far this drags you. Is it like full screen? Do you have to be pretty close to her? If you're in the air, does it bring you in from further away? Stuff like that I'm very curious of. But what I'm also curious of is the recovery, because this move could actually possibly be safe. It could be a safe Skybound art, honestly, and that would be pretty scary. That would be really scary. I wouldn't be scared of it because I'm going to be playing her, but that is potentially very frightening if it pulls you in and then it's safe, because that would be kind of nuts, because Yuel already looks like she has a lot of movement, right? She has a lot of movement options, and she can go into her stance to like get this little probably like micro dashes and stuff like that. But if she has the ability to drag you in full screen, and then you can't even punish her off of that, that would be godlike. And then obviously she draws the enemy in, and she does the dance with Societa, and I assume it's probably the dance they do against Ninetales to defeat him. Cool story. Yuel and Societa have a pretty cool story. I would look into it if you're interested in the lore or anything. Granblue has some fantastic lore. It's definitely like way up there for lore, and it's very cool. But yeah, overall, I feel like I've done a decent idea throughout the video talking about how I think her power level is going to be, how strong she's going to be. I think she will be good. I think she'll be very good. Will she be Belial good? We won't know until she comes out. I don't really like talking if this character is gonna be busted or not without like at least a couple weeks of her being live. So only time will tell if she's gonna break the game like Belial or if she's gonna be as poo-poo as Lil Wayne. We'll see. Lil Wayne, who also kind of broke the game with his Super Skybound art, but that's beside the point. Please, Arxis, please take that Skybound Super out of the game, please. Either way, I think she's going to be a very fun character to play. She's going to be really cool. I'm definitely going to probably try to make the switch from Zoe to Yuel, and we'll see if I enjoy her. I'm going to be streaming her a lot over the course of the next couple days, so make sure to stop by my Twitch, link in the description down below, and see what you think about that. And I'll definitely tell you my thoughts and my troubles of transitioning from Zoe, who's plays pretty reactively, to a rushdown character. But without further ado, thank you so much for watching. I have been Booer Dragon, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.